Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Charles Darwin's Barnacle and David Bowie's Spider. How Scientific Names Celebrate Adventurers, Heroes, and even a Few Scoundrels. By Stephen B. Hurd, Ph.D. Narrated by Jonathan Todd Ross. Preface. Part of what makes us human is our curiosity about the world around us. That curiosity drives scientists to discover, describe, and name the millions of other species with which we share our planet. Every now and then, the naming of a newly discovered species catches the public eye. Sometimes it's because that new species is named after a person, be they living or dead, real or imaginary, admired or loathed. Among such eponymous namings are the barnacle named for Charles Darwin, Regio scalpellum darwini, the spider named for David Bowie, Heteropoda David Bowie, the fungus named for SpongeBob SquarePants, Spongiforma squarepantsii, and the beetle named for George W. Bush, Agathidium bushi. These namings, and many more like them, connect the scientists who name species, the species that bear the names, and the people to whom the names refer. They also strike many people as a little peculiar. What a strange way it seems to pay tribute to someone, to build their name into a quasi-Latin name for a species, a name that will be used primarily by scientists writing technical and jargon-filled journal papers and monographs. You can almost sympathize with Jane Colden's aunt. Jane Colden was likely the New World's first female botanist. She was active in the middle of the 18th century. Her father, the marvelously named Cadwallader Colden, was also a botanist and supported her interest in natural history. Jane's handwritten and hand-drawn manuscript illustrating the flora of New York circulated in London, and it was suggested that a plant should be named Februae Coldenella in her honor. Her aunt, however, was shocked and objected. "What? Name a weed after a Christian woman?" It was Carl Linnaeus, the brilliant 18th century Swedish botanist, who made it possible for a spider to bear David Bowie's name, or for a plant to bear Jane Colden's, and thus for a name to tell a story. Before Linnaeus, the scientific naming of a plant or animal species was simply an exercise in description. A name was a Latin phrase, sometimes quite a long one, that described the species and separated it from similar ones. But it did no more than that. Linnaeus's binomial system was different in several important ways. Most celebrated is that it's simple and allows easy organization of our knowledge about the Earth's biodiversity. Each species has a single word name, coupled with a single word genus name for its group of immediate relatives. Acer rubrum, for example, with rubrum designating one of 130 or so living species of maples in the genus Acer. But a less widely appreciated novelty in Linnaeus's system was its separation of naming from description. Linnaean names, and all scientific or Latin names since Linnaeus, are indexing devices. They may be descriptive, as in Acer rubrum, red maple, but they don't have to be, as in Acer davidii, Père David's maple. Linnaeus's invention of nondescriptive names might seem trivial, but it made something possible that had never been possible before. In naming species, scientists could express themselves. In choosing to honor someone with an eponymous Latin name, a scientist can tell a story about the person being honored, but at the same time, that scientist tells a story about him or herself. With Linnaeus's invention, names, and eponymous names in particular, became a window on scientists' personalities. What shows through that window? That scientists aren't the cool, dull, and unemotional creatures that many might expect. They use Latin naming creatively, and in doing so reveal all of humanity's virtues, weaknesses, and foibles. In naming organisms, some scientists proclaim their admiration for naturalists, explorers, and others among their heroes. Some acknowledge their gratitude to their mentors or patrons. Some express their love for their husbands or daughters or parents. Some stake their claims as fans of Harry Potter or of punk music. Some make statements about justice and human rights. Some signal their disdain for demagogues and dictators. Others sadly reveal their approval of them. The eponymous names of organisms can reveal the shame of bias and prejudice, but also the pride we can feel in attempts to rise above those human failings. In coining eponymous names, scientists show themselves as sometimes sober, sometimes playful, and sometimes eccentric, sometimes gracious and sometimes spiteful, and every bit as passionate about history, arts, and culture as they are about the pattern of scales on the belly of a snake. Through the window of eponymous naming, we see the best and the worst of humanity. We see science as a fully human activity, full of personality and history, and shaped by intriguing connections between the species that's named, the person it's named for, and the scientist doing the naming. As Mistress Muffet puts it in A.S. Byatt's novel, Morpho-Eugenia, names, you know, are a way of weaving the world together. The stories woven by eponymous names can be surprising, fascinating, and poignant. Occasionally, they can be infuriating. The book that follows tells some of those stories. Enjoy your look through the window. Introduction. A lemur and its name. You and I are primates. Our lineage among mammals stretches back 75 million years. In some ways, it hasn't been a terribly successful one. Only 504 living primate species are known to science, compared with, for example, 1,240 species of bats, 26,000 of orchids, and 60,000 of weevils. At the same time, though, it's a lineage that, through the actions of our own species, has transformed the planet as no other ever has. We can be both ashamed and proud of this. It's true that no species has ever polluted so many lakes, raised so many forests, or driven so many other species near or to extinction. But it's also true that no species before us has written symphonies, or built libraries or art galleries. Even more, no species has thirsted so much to understand its world, and no species has ever made so much progress toward that goal. Like every species, we have our local preoccupations with territory, food, and mates. But we've also looked up from them to study and name rocks, plants, animals, landforms, even planets and stars. As human beings, we tend to be intensely interested in our own kin. That's true in genealogical and geographic senses. We cherish our families and our local communities. But it's also true in an evolutionary sense. The 19th century discovery of our close relationship to the other great apes sparked a public controversy that continues in some circles today. The primate house is a showpiece attraction at any zoo, and we devour articles and documentary films about chimpanzees, gorillas, and our other close relatives. When I take undergraduate students on field courses to the tropics, nothing excites them more than a chance to glimpse a monkey swinging high in the forest canopy. Surprisingly, perhaps, our knowledge of our primate kin is far from complete. We know quite a lot about chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, and orangutans, which are the largest primates and our very closest relatives. We know much less about the rest of the group. A few are both well-studied and staples of popular culture. Think of the Japanese macaques that make such captivating images when they bathe in hot springs in winter. Most others are understood superficially at best. Deep in the forests of Madagascar, for example, live primate species newly recognized by science and virtually unknown. Among these most mysterious of our relatives are the mouse lemurs.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?